Do we have anybody that's going to speak?
I'm going to speak.
It's gonna be sort of similar to what we did at TMZ.
Do I have to speak?
They'll call you up and ask you about it.
Which is that? Wants to put a dog park behind. My first undisturbed.
Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. It's Monday, September 20th, 2021. Welcome, everybody, to the meeting of the Mayor and Council. We have with us tonight Pastor Will Watts, Life Church Assembly of God, Smyrna Assembly of God, 4100 King Springs Road. I'd invite the pastor to come on up and lead us in the invocation and pledge the flag. Everybody, please rise.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, we come to you today thankful for the opportunity to govern ourselves, thankful for the responsibility of civic engagement, and thankful for the privilege of living in this great community. In these ever-changing times, we ask that you help bring about unity and strength, for as your word says, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. We pray for wisdom and guidance for our mayor, city planner, councilmen, and councilwomen, and all other elected officials present. Though we all may have differing opinions on the matters that press our day-to-day lives, we ask that you would remind us that you have created us all with equal worth and value. Though we may disagree, help us to be civil and to grow together through the ways in which we engage with those who are different from us. Help us all to be unified by a belief in the common good and the desire to make the city of Smyrna all that it can be. Let your will be done. I thank you, Lord, for the freedom to make this simple petition to you in this public place of governance. I thank you for the freedom we have of being able to hold on to differing beliefs. And though all present may not believe the same, it is my privilege to beseech you tonight in the name of my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. And now, if you would, please join me as we pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, for being with us tonight. I appreciate you. All right, item 2 is agenda changes. We have none. Item 3 is the mayoral report. I have a few things, but before I do my report, we have a couple of proclamations. The first is item A, proclamation and recognition of Constitution Week, September 17th through 23rd, 2021. It's the Fielding Lewis chapter of the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, and we have some representatives of that chapter in attendance tonight to accept the proclamation. I'm going to turn it over to, I'll invite you all up, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Tim Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Maybe before we start, we'll just do an introduction of who's here today, if you don't mind. And first, I guess I understand this is the Fielding Lewis chapter of the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution. And would you like to share your patriot, too?
I'd love to share my patriot. I'm Linda Lopez, and I'm the regent of the Fielding Lewis DAR chapter, and thank you so much for having us tonight, and we appreciate this proclamation because it helps us celebrate Constitution Week, the signing of our Constitution, and our Constitution Week chair will tell just briefly what we've done. My patriot is Wiggins Killebrew. He was in North Carolina. He was a citizen soldier, you might say. He was a farmer, and he fought for the cause of the Revolution, and then he went back home and he went to farming. So he believed that that was important enough that he needed to put aside his daily activities to help support the cause of the Revolution. Karen?
Good evening. I'm Karen Cavett. I'm the Vice Regent of the Fielding Lewis DAR chapter. Thank you for having us, and thank you for celebrating Constitution Week with us. I have several patriots, but I'm going to tell you the one I'm most proud of. His name is Pendleton Isbell. He was one of General Washington's lifeguards. Now, he didn't swim, but that would be like the Secret Service. So he was hand-selected. He was at Valley Forge with General Washington.
And I'm Mary Nimsgern. I'm a member of the Constitution Week Committee and Fielding Lewis chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. My ancestor is Michael O'Hare. He was an Irish immigrant and fought, of course, in the Revolutionary War and settled in Virginia.
I am Cynthia L. Simmons, and I am the chairman of the Constitution Committee. And my patriot was Thomas Baker, and he was a juror, and then his son fought in the war. And this year that we have been privileged to make packets for the schools, and I'm the one that delivered all the packets to the Smyrna schools, so I got to see all the schools. We put constitutions in there and flags and games for the kids and all kinds of fun things. And then I have made several podcasts on the Constitution so that people could be well informed about what it's about.
Thank you very much. And Jennifer, do you want to share also?
I'm Jennifer Bennett. I work for the city, but I'm also a member of the Fielding Lewis chapter, have been since 2013. I've been on the Constitution Week committee a few years, I think, and participate in this every year. My primary patriot was a private. His name was Jesse George. He was one of Francis Marion's men, and they're credited with frustrating the British so much there at the end that they just gave up. But they, and some people credit them with being what we commonly refer to now as the Rangers, like the first Rangers. They had very different fighting tactics. They pulled them into the swamps and a lot of other things, and they're credited with being pivotal in the Southern campaign, which some people believe was the turning point of the Revolution. So, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, and it's fascinating to hear the history and definitely appreciate your involvement. So let me go ahead and read the proclamation. A proclamation by the mayor of the city of Smyrna, Constitution Week 2021. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule of law, and whereas September 17th, 2021, marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document in the anniversary of its creation, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Derek Norton, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Smyrna in the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 2021 as Constitution Week, and as asks our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Smyrna to be affixed upon this, the 20th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 2021. Derek Norton, Mayor. So again, thank you so much for being here, and let me come down and get a picture if you don't mind.
Oh, great.
Want to receive it? Okay. Mayor coming down? Where's he? Go ahead, you hold it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you very much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for all you do. All right, the next proclamation is in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we have two proclamations this time, one in English and one in Spanish, and we have a representative from our fire department who's going to be reading the one in Spanish. Well, we've got our first ever city-sponsored Hispanic Heritage Celebration coming up on October 2nd. I see my friend Jimmy McDonald, who works with the Latin American Association here. I believe we've got representatives from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here. Penny on our staff has done a lot of work getting ready for the Hispanic Heritage Celebration event, and I'm just pleased to have these proclamations here this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wheaton to handle this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to see and read in this proclamation. I'd like to certainly invite, I think we have in attendance with us, as was mentioned, from the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Latin American Association, Jimmy McDonald, with us. Please come on up. As well, Veronica Maldonado Torres, as well, here, President and CEO of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and also Santiago Marquez, CEO of the Latin American Association. As well, Smyrna firefighter Marcos Barajas will be reading the Spanish translation. So invite everyone to come on up to the front. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So I'll read the proclamation in English, and then our firefighter Marcos Barajas will read it in Spanish. But if either one of you want to make any comments, feel free at this time.
On behalf of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we're very honored for this recognition today, and thank you for celebrating our Hispanic heritage and the contribution of our small businesses driving economic impact into our market and in our backyard. We appreciate being here.
I'm Jimmy McDonald, but I think it is appropriate tonight to make sure I use my mom's last name too. So I'm Jimmy McDonald Miranda. I just want to add a couple comments, if I may, Mr. Mayor. First, until very, very recently, was an 18-year resident of Smyrna. So there's a lot of pride in being here tonight and watching Smyrna take this significant step for the Hispanic community in this area. It shouldn't be taken lightly. I think it's serendipitous that we're here at the same week as recognizing the Constitution, because I think a concept that I'd love to leave you with is that so many millions of immigrants, particularly Hispanic immigrants, they're chasing the concept of that Constitution here. They're leaving a place that doesn't have the beacon that Constitution represents here. So even on our worst day in this country, that Constitution represents something that the rest of the world really doesn't have a real understanding of, and that's what brings them here. And in Georgia, it's no less. We're growing here exponentially, as you all have seen this last census. We're the fastest growing demographic in the state of Georgia. So I am a reflection of that. On one hand, ladies, I contract my family to the American Revolution on my father's side. On my mom's side, I'm a first-generation American. So I'm a reflection of that. So I'm very, very proud to be here, council, mayor, in a city that means as much to me as Smyrna does and always will, to see y'all take this enormous step in recognizing that the Hispanic community is very much a part of who you are too. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And
with
Jimmy,
that,
thank you. Jimmy, thank you. Sorry, Dr. Whedon. I just want to thank you too for your efforts and all of our conversations recently about having a long-lasting partnership with not only the Chamber but the Latin American Association. We just never had that in the city before, and so it's nice to start that initiative and start that partnership, and I look forward to what that brings. So.
With that, I'll read in the proclamation here. A proclamation by the mayor of the city of Smyrna in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, we recognize the contributions made by Hispanic and Latino Americans in the United States and celebrate their culture and heritage. And whereas with over 60 million Hispanic Americans residing in the U.S., Hispanic Americans make up the largest minority group in the nation and have significantly contributed to our government, culture, and economy over the generations. And whereas the Hispanic community in America has made many important advances in areas of law, religion, agriculture, art, music, education, technology, architecture, cuisine, theater, and exploration. And whereas nationally, September 15th through October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and the focal point for recognizing and celebrating the many achievements of Latino Americans and applauding their proud legacy and service and dedication. And whereas the 2021 theme for Hispanic Heritage Month is Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope. And whereas Smyrna's Hispanic American community will celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month through a series of special events featuring Hispanic history, food, dance, and culture, celebrating the rich tradition and many contributions this community has made to the city of Smyrna. And whereas we should appreciate and honor the countless achievements of Hispanic Americans and continue our efforts to ensure our city is a welcoming and inclusive place that provides just and equal opportunities for all. Now, therefore, I, Derek Norton, Mayor of the City of Smyrna, Georgia, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2021, as Hispanic Heritage Month. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Smyrna to be affixed upon this 20th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2021, Derek Norton, Mayor.
Good evening. I will now read in Spanish. Proclamación en reconocimiento al mes de la herencia hispana. Durante el mes nacional de la herencia hispana, reconocemos las contribuciones hechas por hispanos y latinoamericanos en los Estados Unidos. Celebramos su cultura y herencia. Y con más de 60 millones de hispanoamericanos que residen en los Estados Unidos, los hispanoamericanos constituyen el grupo minoritario más grande de la nación y han contribuido significativamente a nuestro gobierno, cultura y economía, y a lo largo de las generaciones. En la comunidad hispana en los Estados Unidos ha hecho muchos avances importantes en las áreas de derecho, religión, agricultura, arte, música, educación, tecnología, arquitectura, gastronomía, teatro y exploración. Y a nivel nacional, del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre, es el mes nacional de la herencia hispana y el punto focal para reconocer y celebrar los muchos logros de los latinoamericanos y aplaudir su admirable legado de servicio y dedicación. Y el tema de 2021 para el mes de la herencia hispana es Esperanza, una celebración de la herencia hispana y la esperanza. Y la comunidad hispanoamericana de Smyrna celebrará el mes de la herencia hispana a través de una serie de eventos especiales que presentarán la historia, comida, danza y arte hispana, celebrando la rica tradición y muchas contribuciones que esta comunidad ha hecho a la ciudad de Smyrna. Y debemos apreciar y honrar los innumerables logros de los hispanoamericanos y constituir nuestros esfuerzos para garantizar que nuestra ciudad sea un lugar acogedor e inclusivo que brinde oportunidades justas e iguales para todos. Ahora yo, Derek Norton, alcalde de la ciudad de Smyrna, Georgia, proclamo por la presente del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre de 2021 como el mes de la herencia hispana.
And we'll come on down for a picture, too.
Mayor, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all, and thank you, Dr. Wheaton. I've got a couple of things before I go through my list. I should mention Councilman Welch is not here. He is traveling, and Councilman Pickens is not here because he is a new father as of a couple days ago. So congratulations to Glenn. We mentioned the Hispanic Heritage Celebration. That's coming up on Saturday, October 2nd. We'll have food trucks and a DJ and a movie, and all things lead to a pretty big party. We've got a lot of stuff on our social media. They're going to be advertising it on the radio, and I look forward to a big crowd, so pray for good weather, but really looking forward to that. I want to say thank you to our staff and everybody that came out for our 9/11 memorial celebration ceremony. That was a great event, and I know it takes a lot to put something like that on, and I appreciate everybody being there and all that you did to make that happen. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our Taste of Smyrna this last Saturday, but due to labor shortages for the restaurants, they can barely keep their own shops running, let alone take it on the road to a festival. And Marietta had the same thing. They had to cancel theirs. But we wanted to make sure that we did something for citizens, and so we decided to pivot to a college football Saturday. Jennifer Bennett on our team did a lot of work putting that together on the fly, and I think it was a great success. Thanks for all those that came out on Saturday. We had a huge LED screen. We had a band that was great. It was playing up there at the fountain at the front of the Market Village. And the feedback that we got was tremendous. Everybody wants us to do it again, so you can bet on that. We'll do it again once or twice more during this season, and then look to maybe making that a regular thing next year. The week after that, or week after the Hispanic Heritage Celebration, we have our birthday celebration. That's October 9th. We've had Banks and Shane for many, many years, and they've done a great job for us. This year, we're going to change that and have Sister Hazel open it up for the Gin Blossoms. So if you haven't gotten your table yet, go ahead and reserve that on our website. It should be a big party. Looking forward to that. And then I just want to mention quickly the downtown redevelopment progress. It is progressing. We've had open house. The task force has been meeting on the details for several weeks. We had 2 open houses last Thursday. We have another one tomorrow from 4 to 7 at the big gym in the community center. And you can make comments online up until Friday of this week. It's been open since, I guess, last Friday or last Thursday. This committee on details has put forward 2 concepts for you to comment on and say what you like and don't like. They put a lot of work into creating kind of a menu of different options for you to choose from and what you want the space that will replace the current fountain and roundabout. And so I thank all of y'all that have come out and made comments so far or done so online, and I hope that all of you will before the end of the week and come out tomorrow. The only other thing I wanted to mention is a lot of comments when we're talking about focusing on downtown, people are saying, well, how come you're not focusing on South Cobb? We need to redo South Cobb Drive. And I want to make everybody clear, we are working on that. We've made a lot of progress with the DOT Commissioner, McMurray, and his staff. We have a project number. Because we front-loaded through a bond some of the initial phases of that project, it saved us about a year in the DOT process. We're looking at getting federal money and state money because it is a state road. So we're making a significant progress on that, and that's specifically from Concord Road to Windy Hill Road on South Cobb Drive. So look forward to updates on that in the next several months and into the spring. With that, I'll conclude my mayoral report, and we'll move down the agenda. Item 4 is land issues, zonings, annexations. 4A, 2021-343. This is a public hearing, zoning case Z21-010, allowing rezoning from FC to R10 conditional for the development of 4 new single-family homes at a density of 3.77 units per acre on land lot 592.06 acres located at 1587 Roswell Street by the applicant Brad Thompson. Mr. Bennett, any background, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The applicant, Brad Thompson, is requesting a rezoning from FC to R10 conditional for the development of 4 single-family detached units at a density of 3.77 units per acre. A land use change from industrial mixed use to moderate density residential is required for this rezoning. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval by a vote of 6-0 at the August 9th, 2021 meeting. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from FC to R10 conditional for the development of 4 single-family units at a density of 3.77 units per acre with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. We'll turn it over to Joey for his presentation.
Good evening. I'm Joey Stobbs, Planner 2. As Mr. Bennett said, this is an application by Brad Thompson. Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval 6-0 at the August 9th hearing. This is the subject property. It's at 1587 Roswell Street, a little over an acre. There's currently 1 single-family structure on the property, and he's proposing to subdivide it for 4 single-family detached residences. Current zoning is future commercial. The proposed zoning is R10 conditional. The future land use mostly around this property is industrial mixed use, so it requires a land use change to moderate density residential. This is the proposed site plan. It'll have the R10 setbacks up front of 25 feet, side of 5 feet, and rear of 25 feet. 2 lots will face Hawthorne and 2 lots will face Roswell Street. These are the 2 houses facing Hawthorne Avenue, and these are the 2 facing Roswell Street. The initial proposal was to have front entry garages. The applicant is pursuing changing that to make it rear entry garage. Part of that will include this 15-foot access easement right here. If the city will abandon that, then they can shift the houses over. They'll all have stormwater detention independently on each lot, and he's going to install a sidewalk on both streets. There's two variances required: a front setback reduction from 40 feet to 25 feet, and side setback reduction from 7.5 to 5 feet. Staff supports both of those variances. Here's proposed home elevation. It's an example of how these houses will look. This is the subject property as it is today, and the adjacent properties. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from future commercial to R10 conditional for 4 single-family units at a density of 3.77 units per acre with the following conditions. 1, regarding the architecture, composition of the homes. 2, requiring utilities to be underground. 3, they'll be responsible for any traffic improvements. 4, requires no debris can be buried on any common area or any lots. 5, 6, and 7 regarding the tree ordinance and tree planting schedule. Special conditions, 8 is regarding the R10 setbacks, as previously mentioned. 9 is the minimum lot size of a little over 10,000 square feet. 10, minimum lot width of 50 feet. 11, minimum driveway length of 22 feet. 12, requiring the sidewalk. 13 is a maximum height of 35 feet. 14, they'll meet all fire access requirements. 15, all water and sewer improvements. 16, they'll be responsible for stormwater improvements. And then 17 and 18 ties it to the site plan and the elevation submitted. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Joey?
Joey, did you say that two of them are going to have rear entry garages? Is that, or what I heard you say in the beginning?
Mr. Thompson can describe that more, but the two houses on Roswell Street, he's looking to convert those to rear entry.
Okay. Okay, and you said he can explain that when he comes up. Okay, thank you.
If there's no other questions, a good time for the applicant to come on up.
The proposal is, just as everybody's already stated, pretty much pretty straightforward. With regard to the garage locations, we've been working to get that corrected. It was more of a placeholder. The front entry garages were Hawthorne. I never really intended to do those. Actually, on Hawthorne, I'm going to do side load garages because those lots are so wide to give me the opportunity to do that. And then on Roswell Street, if the city is willing to allow me to use that access easement, then we can get rid of the front entry garages on both of those lots that are fronting on Roswell Street. One will actually probably be side loaded also, but then the one furthest to the, I guess would be furthest to the right if you're standing on Roswell Street would be rear entry. There'll be a modern farmhouse in design, about 3,000 square feet. Price point will be high fives, low sixes. And the finish level will be our typical high level of finish. And at this point, I'll just reserve the rest of the time for any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Thompson?
Would those have two separate driveways also, the two on Roswell Street? Is that what
as long as I'm able to use that access easement, yes, I can do that. I'm pretty sure. I might end up having to come off behind the first one, but I'm going to do everything I can to have two separate driveways.
And then the width, as far as the setback, the side setback, it's enough room as well for that driveway. And
I'll have to build a different floor plan on, I think it's lot 2, yes. So I will have to put a different floor plan on there, a narrower floor plan to make it work, but I think I've got a plan that I think will work.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Lindley, anything to add before we open it up to the public hearing?
No. Well, just thanks to Mr. Thompson. Revisited late last week, and I think came up with a good solution based on some of the concerns from the neighbors. So I'm glad that we've been able to work out the use of the alleyway. Appreciate him working with us on that.
Glad to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. This is a public hearing. I'd invite anybody who wants to speak for or against this item to come up and be sworn in now by our city attorney. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. This is in Ward 3. I'll turn it over to Councilman Lindley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And again, thanks to Rusty and Joey and to Brad for working out some of the details there. Is one of what will be the two gateway homes as you come into Williams Park on Roswell Street. I think we've struck a good balance. I will motion do passed as approved with the stipulation that the two single-family homes on Roswell Street shall have rear entry garages with a shared driveway and access easement along the western property line. So I believe that.
If I may, if I can do it, I'd rather not share a driveway, but I can get them off the front. If I can do a side load on lot 1 and a rear on lot 2 is what I would prefer, if we can do it that way. And I can do it if the access easement is available.
All right, Jeffrey, as far as the stipulation, have you got what you need for the minutes? Okay. All right, with that, motion do pass is stipulated and presented.
Mr. Lindley has made a motion, seconded by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote.
Right, it's a rear driveway.
And that's approved 4-1 with Ms. Wilkinson voting in the negative. Item B is 2021-344. That's a public hearing, zoning case Z21-011. Allow rezoning from R15 to RDA conditional for the development of 6 single-family detached homes at a density of 2.26 units per acre, land lots 339 and 382, 2.654 acres, 3562 and 3572 South Sherwood Road, Midtown Builders Group. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Thank you, sir. Midtown Builders Group is seeking approval of a rezoning for 3562 and 3572 South Sherwood Road from R15 to RDA conditional for the development of 6 single-family detached residences at a density of 2.26 units per acre. The proposed lots will be between 10,005 and 11,146 square feet. The homes will face South Sherwood Road and have front entry garages. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval by a vote of 6-0 at the August 9th, 2021 meeting. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from R15 to RDA conditional for the development of 6 single-family units at a density of 2.26 units per acre with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Joey?
This application is by Midtown Builders Group. Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval 6-0 at the August 9th hearing. Subject property consists of 2 parcels, 3562 and 3572 South Sherwood Road. They total about little over 2.5 acres. There's currently 2 single-family lots, and the proposal is to subdivide it for 6 single-family detached lots. Current zoning is R15, and the proposed zoning is RDA. So it'll be consistent with the developments on the east and the west. Future land use is moderate density residential. It will remain moderate density residential. And I'll go over the proposed site plan. As I said, there's 6 lots that will face South Sherwood Road. It'll have RDA setbacks, front of 25, side of 5, and a rear of 25. They will all be front entry garages. The whole back half of the property will be conserved. There's stream buffers, and none of that will be developed. They'll have a common stormwater detention facility. And there's a sanitary sewer easement that runs through the property. There'd be a 20-foot, I think 20 feet access easement to access the stormwater detention pond when needed. And they will dedicate roadway along South Sherwood and install sidewalk. There are no variances requested. These are examples of the houses they plan to build. And the pictures of the subject property as it is today and adjacent properties. Staff recommends approval of rezoning from R15 to RDA conditional for the development of 6 single-family units at a density of 2.26 units per acre with the following conditions. Again, 1, regarding the architectural composition. 2, that they will have a stormwater detention pond with common HOA ownership. 3, all utilities will be underground. They'll be responsible for any traffic improvements, and they are prohibited from debris buried underground. 6, 7, and 8, again, regarding the tree ordinance and the tree planting schedule. Special condition 9, regarding the RDA setbacks. 10, minimum lot size of little over 10,000 square feet. 11, minimum lot width of 50 feet. 12, minimum driveway length of 22 feet. 13, they will dedicate 5 feet of right-of-way along South Sherwood. 14, they will install sidewalk. 15 is a maximum height of 35 feet. 16, they will meet all fire access requirements. 17, they will meet all water and sewer improvement requirements, and 18, stormwater management requirements. 19 and 20 ties this to the site plan submitted and the elevations proposed in the application. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Joey?
Heather, will you put the site plan back up for a minute? So, anyway, my question is about the sewer easement, and does it go into the rear of the property on I guess it's lot 6?
It goes through the rear, yes, of, I think, all of the lots.
And then it comes up on the side of the house. Is that where to the street? Is that what's happening there?
It runs from the northwest part diagonally through the properties.
It go from here, right here?
So it'll flow from 6 to 1 from the east to the west.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions of Joey? This is, oh, go ahead, Mr. Gould.
Sorry, Joey, one quick question for you. To the property to the east of it, is that RDA also? I'm sorry, I missed that on the...
Yes, sir.
Is it
Both
to the-
developments to the east and west are RDA.
RDA, gotcha, okay. Thank you.
There's a consistent theme tonight. Everything seems to be on this agenda in Ward 3. Mr. Lindley, anything to add before we invite the applicant up? Well, come on up. Just hit the button.
Oh, no, there we go. Jeff Kane with Midtown Builders Group. I think everybody covered everything. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Could you, tell us a little bit about the product, size, and all that?
They're going to be around 3,000 square feet, a mixture of brick and some will have brick, some will have stone. The remainder would be all hardy product or cement fiber product. And front entry garages, trying to do something interesting with all the backyards to give some type of feature, whether it be fire pits or the like. And I'm probably going to do a common fencing just to keep everything consistent, since they are smaller lots. Rather than everybody picking a different fence, I'm probably going to go ahead and just lump that in and have it done before we sell.
Price point?
Good question. I mean, you know, the plan is high 6s, 7s, but market will dictate and product. We're ready to get started as soon as we can, assuming that, again, we can get product.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against this item? I'd invite you up now to be sworn in by our city attorney. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And I'll say before I hand it over to Mr. Lindley, I think I can speak for him in saying thank you for coming to us very early in this process, and even before you went to planning and zoning, I believe, and just asking us what we thought, and that's the right way to do it, and we appreciate that. Mr. Lindley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would echo the mayor. Thanks, Mr. Kane. I know it seems like it's been about a year. Appreciate you reaching out to us, reaching out to the neighbors, getting a lot of good input, and excited to see what's coming. With that, motion do pass is presented.
Have a motion do pass. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gould. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you. Next item is C 2021-406. This is a public hearing appeal the denial of license by the License and Variance Board for variance request V21-079, reduce the accessory structure rear setback from 5 feet to 3.8 feet, land lot 589, 2674 Grady Street, Montrell Coleman, by Montrell Coleman, who resides at 2674 Grady Street, Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia, 30080, has filed with the city clerk's office on Tuesday, August 17, 2021 at 4:32 p.m. via electronic mail. And this is this goes along with item D. This is the rear setback, and item D is the side setback. Joey?
Thank you. As you mentioned, this will be two separate voting items, but I'm just going to summarize it. Applicant is Montrell Coleman. License and Variance Board heard this on August 11th, and they denied it by a vote of 3-0. He made the appeal on August 17th, and so you're hearing this request tonight. I think the issue, why this came to us, this is a shed that's probably 160 square feet. We only permit sheds that are over 200 square feet. So there was no need to permit this. Code enforcement got a complaint, and they went out there and determined that it was too close to the rear and the side property lines. This is just an example of the location of the shed. It's in the back right. Community Development recommended denial because we didn't feel there was significant hardship to warrant approval. And as I mentioned, the License and Variance Board recommended denial. So there is a rear setback reduction from 5 feet to 3 feet 8 inches, and a side setback reduction from 5 feet to 2 foot 8 inches. It's a picture of the subject property and adjacent properties. Community Development again recommends denial.
Any questions of Joey?
Joey, is there a picture of the shed in question relative to the lot?
It's in the memo, but it's not in the presentation.
And Mr. Mayor, are we going to hear from?
We are. It's a public hearing, so I'll invite, if there's no other questions for Joey, I'll invite those who would like to speak for or against this item, including the applicant here, to come up and be sworn in by our city attorney.
I do.
Thank you for being here. Can you please introduce yourself and your address for the record?
Yes, sir. My name is Montrell Coleman. I live at 2674 Grady Street, Smyrna, Georgia.
Very good. Tell us.
So, Mr. Coleman, I guess tell us how we got here this evening. I know sounds like you've been through a couple of city meetings. So, how did you get here tonight?
Yes, sir. I originally moved to the city of Smyrna in 2017 while deployed. My wife found the location here. I spend many weekends here because of my obligations to Dobbins Air Reserve Base. We originally had a townhome. We had our first kid, and we felt that we needed a yard. We found a home not too far from here, walking distance on Grady Street. The yard itself, relatively flat on one side, but there's a slope on it. Now, speaking with the builder who was still building my next door neighbor's home at the time, he advised me that there was an issue with the trees in the back that he removed that had to be replanted back in the same spot. So understanding that the grounds could not be disturbed, when I purchased my shed, I wanted to not disturb the trees that was already there, but also have a yard where I can still have use for it as well. So I selected on the area that's in the back. I had it leveled. I had timber woods to support it, and I also put gravel down as well. Now, I have just enough clearance where the door is operational. So to move it any other location would be a hardship. I think the previous meeting I had, they miscategorized as the trees that's planted on the side of as bushes. They're not bushes, they're actual trees. So I could not remove them, or I'd be back here again to replace the trees back. So the shed itself is not an eyesore. It's a brand new shed. I don't think it's a hindrance to anyone around me other than perhaps, I guess, the complaint. But I spoke with numerous neighbors who loved the shed and actually inquired about getting their own. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is a rule or law that's widely known, but my nightly routine of running on the neighborhood, I spotted numerous sheds that's in the same predicament as mine. So I'm kind of curious as to the reason why I'm here, or is it just a selective type of reinforcement of this rule? I know I presented pictures of my shed, but it wasn't here available, but I have a number of pictures of residents that's in my neighborhood, that's on my nightly walk, that's on or right next to property lines. So I'm not asking for anything that's unprecedented at this point. I'm asking that the shed remains where it's at, because they do have to be removed, and it just have to be removed totally off my lot, and I'm not in a position to necessarily do that at this current time.
So we're talking here about 1.2 feet, just a little over a foot.
Yes, sir.
And that is, if it were to move, it would.
If it were to,
you wouldn't be able to open the door. You wouldn't be able to.
No, sir.
That caught my attention that we were literally talking about a foot, but that makes sense.
But even if we were to remove it, I don't understand what the difference that would have been made as far as the viewing pleasure of someone beside me or behind me, whoever the complaint is. I think it's unfounded to be a real issue. I'm pretty sure this law was intended for something, but it's not intended for the shed that I have.
Any questions of the applicant?
We were thinking about we come on over to your house and help you move it, but it sounds like there might be some obstruction.
when we had our pre-meeting, we didn't understand the tree. We were like, well, it's 160 square feet. We'll just all come out there together and we'll move it. But
it's funny, like some of my neighbors, like, well, if we have to get together to help you try to move it, which I don't really think. I think it's just just joking around. But they're just the neighbors that I have. Great people. I love the neighborhood I chose to live in. My roots are going to be planted here. My son, when he grows up, he's going to say, I'm from Smyrna. Right. So I don't want to have a distaste in my mouth in regards to my welcome to the neighborhood, so to speak. I've been here in this current home since December.
Welcome. Sorry you're here tonight, but welcome to the city. Any other questions of the applicant?
No, thanks, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Mr. Lindley, this is in Ward 3?
I guess while we're still in the open hearing, is there anyone here to speak to the denial? Because I understand this came via a complaint.
Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Lindley.
Yeah, so this is one of those tricky things, but I tend to agree with the homeowner and motion to approve his appeal.
A motion to approve the appeal. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 4-1 with Councilwoman Wilkinson voting in the negative. Welcome again to Smyrna, and thank you for being here this evening.
Mr. Mayor, let's have the record reflect a formal vote on these two separately, just because they appear that way in the record already.
Okay, so we'll move on to item D. We already know what we're talking about here. This is a public hearing. Anybody wants to speak for or against, come on up now and be sworn in. All right, seeing none, I will turn it over to Mr. Lindley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Since we've all been through the dialogue and item C, motion do pass as previously read and presented.
This is on
D.
This is on
But we did
item
C.
D. We have a motion and a second by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor, please vote. That is also approved 4-1 with Councilwoman Wilkinson voting in the negative. Item E is application for a mural, but we understand that there's still a little bit more that needs to happen with that, and that may need to be tabled. So this is also, like everything else tonight, in Ward 3. Turn it over to Mr. Lindley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Motion to table.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gould. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0, and that will be tabled. Do we have a date? Or tabled indefinitely? Okay. All right. Item F, Resolution 2021-07, approval to adopt Resolution 2021-07, designating 1650 Spring Road, 1639 Corn Road, 2930 Jonquil Road, 2938 Jonquil Road, 2948, 2958, and 2968 Jonquil Road to be known as the Quad as a restaurant district, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As defined in the amendment to Section 6-46, carry-in prohibited of the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances, the carry-out of alcoholic beverages is only authorized in areas that are designated as a restaurant district by a resolution from mayor and council. The applicant is requesting to designate the Quad as a restaurant district. The Quad is located at the intersection of Spring Road and Jonquil Drive and will consist of several restaurants and open space. The Quad area is a mixed-use development that represents a future center of commerce and pedestrian activity. The extension of the restaurant district will enable the development to attract additional destination-based retailers and restaurants to the area. This resolution would designate 1650 Spring Road, 1639 Corn Road, 2930 Jonquil Road, 2938 Jonquil Road, 2948 Jonquil Road, 2958 Jonquil Road, and 2968 Jonquil Road as a restaurant district. Community Development staff recommends approval to adopt Resolution 2021-07.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Turn it over to Rusty.
Good evening. Joe has done a great job summarizing it. I'm just going to provide a little bit more context for you guys with respect to the development and where it's located. It's located at the southwest corner of Jonquil Drive and Spring Road. It'll basically show you the outline of the property.
Better known as across from Rev Coffee.
Across from Red Coffee, and then the Christmas tree lot. So it includes Cantrell's and then the transmission place behind the Christmas tree lot. And then there's one parcel that is on Corn Road at the back there. This is his overall plan for the development. He assembled all those lots, and now he's put it back together with respect to turning Cantrell's and the transmission shop and other. I think it's a business. In a single family home, and basically turning those into restaurants that overlook a common green that'll have some public amenities there. There's supportive parking for the uses. Creating this as a restaurant district will allow the uses to intermingle and the alcohol to be brought to that center area from all the properties involved in it. This is a fly through right here. We'll go ahead and play it, and this is a rendition that Mr. Woodbury has provided for the city to convey his thoughts and vision for the property.
little disappointing in the work session. We had some music to go with it. But
This was an updated version, so I think they pulled the music out of it.
oh, man.
So it's probably not playing because of the PowerPoint. So this approval with obviously the restaurant district will allow Mr. Woodbury to move forward with his plans and start finding tenants for these spaces and complete the development of the site and creation of those green spaces. We have reviewed the city distance requirements with respect to alcohol, and Mr. Woodbury has been in contact with the state with respect to their distance requirements, and everything looks to be okay at this point. So with that, I'll answer any questions for you.
Any questions of Rusty? I'm going to call you up, David, in just a second, so be ready. Any questions?
Rusty, question. Restrooms? How is that going to, the facilities have them indoor? Or?
They would have them in the individual facilities. I don't know. Mr. Woodbury would be able to talk about if there'd be any public facilities outside for, if they have food trucks and stuff like that.
Any other questions? Mr. Woodbury, you want to come up? I'll just tell you all, this is another example of the right way to do things. Mr. Woodbury has assembled that property that has chemtrails and the transmission shop, the Christmas tree lot, and a lot of those homes behind there, and came to us with a plan, I don't even know how long ago, that was a mixed use with some apartments and retail, and we politely said, go back to the drawing board, and what you've come back with is something that, in my view, this is exactly what we need in the city of Smyrna. So I commend you for thinking outside the box and coming to us with a new idea that speaks to exactly what we need. Talk a little bit about where you got the idea and what you're planning on doing.
Well, thank you. It's David Woodbury with the Woodbury Group. So yeah, we did a pivot from the original plan, and I wanted to incorporate the buildings that were on site to minimize, the site work, and I wanted a place for the community to go. And it feels like the Smyrna area is lacking in a really gathering spot where the whole family can come and kids can have pizza and the parents could have tacos and margaritas and all hang out. And the concept is to be able to get food or drinks from one restaurant and then go to sit down at the deck of the other one or in the common space in the green space and just relax and have a pleasant time in this oversized green space that we will be a daytime and evening type of draw.
Any questions of Mr. Woodbury?
What's the timeline on the project?
We actually close on the Cantrails property in November, and it will probably start work in January or February, depending on weather.
I would just say to echo the mayor's comments, and I'm sure my colleague from Ward 2 will say much the same, but it checks a lot of boxes. I know folks in Ward 3, they're on the edge in Williams Park, are thrilled about it. And it, like some other projects on the docket, really checks some boxes in terms of keeping or allowing our residents to stay in our community. So I'm thrilled with what you've done. So thank you.
Thanks.
David, yeah, thanks for bringing this forward. It's a great idea. But would you be able to address the question about bathrooms and facilities?
So they'll be in the Cantrails building. We'll have bathrooms that will be accessible to anyone in the project, and then each building will have its own bathrooms, and then we'll probably likely have bathrooms on the outside that people can access without having to go into a building also.
Any other questions not relating to bathrooms?
Thanks for doing this. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
All right, I know you've worked a lot with Austin on this. Mr. Wagner?
Yeah, I don't have any questions on this. We've talked a lot about this and gone through these ideas. Echoing others, but I'm excited about this as an opportunity for Smyrna, and especially that area in Ward 2. And one of the goals I've talked about with a lot of people is trying to create more gathering spaces. As you mentioned, they're a little lacking sometimes in Smyrna, some new ideas, and this type of concept has worked in a lot of other places. So I think it's a good opportunity to start this, and hopefully could be a catalyst for that area, which has been kind of identified in a number of different studies we've done as having a lot of potential to create more, expand upon this gathering. So with that, there's no public hearing on this, right? So I'm going to move to approve Resolution 2021-07 as previously read.
Have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you again, Mr. Woodbury, for bringing to us a concept that much needed here in the city. Thank you. Item G, approval of abandonment of public right-of-way approximately 20 foot by 555 feet or 11,100 square feet between Church Street and Concord Road to First United Methodist Church of Smyrna. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The First United Methodist Church of Smyrna is requesting the abandonment of an old alleyway that bisects their property from Church Street to Concord Road. The alleyway is approximately 20 foot by 555 feet. The church intends to consolidate all of the property into one property if the abandonment is approved. Community Development has reviewed the request and could not locate any future plans or projects for the subject property. Public Works has reviewed the request, and there are no utilities in the alleyway. Community Development recommends approval of abandonment of public right-of-way.
This is pretty straightforward. This is something that the city used to use way back on that property that we're trying to correct now and create one unified parcel. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lindley. It's in Ward 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you summed it up best. The Board of Trustees wants to replat the entire property that has been reassembled there on the block that they own. And with that, motion do pass as previously presented.
We have a motion do pass, seconded by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item H, 2021-394. This is a public hearing, approval of a code amendment to Section 602 of the zoning ordinance and the adoption of the city's updated zoning map, City of Smyrna. This one and item I are basically updating the zoning map and the future land use map with all of the things that we've approved in the last couple of years. Is that correct? Any other background, Mr. Bennett?
No, sir.
Okay. This is citywide. Mr. Lindley, you want to handle these issues? Is there any discussion or any presentation from staff?
No, this is just basically our code references a specific date on a map, and this is updating that date to present time to incorporate all the approvals you all have made over the past 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lindley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion do pass as previously read and presented. On item H.
Motion do pass on item H, seconded by Mr. Gould. All those in favor, please vote. It's approved 5-0. And item I is adopting the city's updated future land use map. I skipped a public hearing on H. I tend to do that sometimes. I apologize. Is there anybody who wishes to speak for or against item H? I'd invite you to come up now. Or item I. Mr. Tucker, can you please swear in this citizen, please?
Yes. Thank you.
Please introduce yourself and state your address for the record.
Yes, my name is Shawn Martin, and I'm at 2884 Anderson Circle. I just have a question. Were there any other changes to the land use map other than just the date on the map itself?
Rusty?
No, these are just reflecting annexations in the city that had come over from Cobb County, as well as any changes we made with respect to a rezoning that also included a land use change. So these are all previous actions that, like we had tonight, the 3 rezonings, if they're included in a land use change, and we updated the map to reflect that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak for or against this? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Jeffrey, do I need to do a revote on H now, or are we good?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Item I, again, is updating the future land use map in the same fashion. I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Lindley, seconded by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item 5 is privileged licenses. We have none. Item 6 is formal business. 6A, AGR 2021-02, approval of the lighting services agreement with Georgia Power for pedestrian lighting on Windy Hill Boulevard in the amount of $767,385 to be paid out of the 2016 SPLOST, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. These next 2 items, A and B, are part of the Windy Hill project, and we're just at that stage where we are approving lighting that's being taken out of the 2016 SPLOST. Mr. Wagner, you want to handle this item for us tonight? Okay.
I'll move.
Actually, you know what? It's in Ward 3 and 5. Actually, you shouldn't handle this. It should either be Mr. Lindley or Ms.
take it.
or Ms.
Travis
Wilkinson.
has done plenty, I think. So maybe
Ms.
Susan
Wilkinson, you want to handle this one, or would you rather Mr. Lindley? Mr. Lindley, it's your show tonight.
I tried.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do believe it's important, once we get this project done, we're told in around 20 to 23 months, that we actually have lights along it, so including the part in Ward 5 as well as Ward 3. So with that, motion do pass as previously presented.
I have a motion do pass, seconded by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you. 6B, approval of lighting services agreement with Georgia Power for tunnel lighting on Windy Hill Boulevard in the amount of $443,926 to be paid out of the 2016 SPLOST, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Mr. Lindley.
Yes, sir. Motion do pass as previously read and presented.
I have a motion do pass, seconded again by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 4-1 with Ms. Wilkinson voting in the negative. Item C, AGR 2021-04, approval to purchase 126 Motorola 800 megahertz portable radios, 123 Motorola 800 megahertz mobile radios, 15 RF control station radios, and 3 desktop consolette radios, as well as all peripheral equipment for police and fire at a 27% overall discount off the state contract pricing at a total cost of $1,511,391, and installation through Motorola at a total cost of $22,091 for a total purchase price of $1,533,482 to be paid from SPLOST funding, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City of Smyrna is scheduled to purchase the Motorola 800 megahertz radios in order to remain in compliance with Cobb County's 800 megahertz radio system. The city has entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Cobb County to purchase the 800 megahertz radios as part of a lease agreement, whereas the city purchases compliant radios as per the contract. Current radios are at their end-of-life cycle in July 2023. This means that after that date, maintenance services, repairs for the current model radio will begin to reduce based on repair parts and supply. This can be further affected by supply chain shortages for parts. To remain in compliance with our agreement with Cobb, the city should purchase this equipment by October 29th, 2021. Purchasing the equipment by this date, the city will receive the 27% state contract discount of $741,955 and the COVID-19 economic recovery discount equaling $494,636 to realize an overall 45% savings.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. This is part of the, this is a line item in the voter-approved SPLOST, and by getting these discounts, I think we're saving around $400,000. And to quote Chief Sagans, we said, "Why do you need these radios?" And he said, "Because all of ours are dying." So something important to do. Mr. Wagner, would you like to handle this?
Sure. Motion to approve item 6C as previously read.
Any discussion? Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item D, approval of access and use easement agreement with Smyrna Restaurant Concepts, LLC, for access to maintenance facilities at 1043 Concord Road, Smyrna, Georgia 30080, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Yes, for the restaurant property owned by Smyrna Restaurant Concepts, LLC, at 1061 Concord Road, uses garbage collection facilities and a grease trap, which are located on adjacent city-owned property at 1043 Concord Road. Smyrna Restaurant Concepts has contracted to sell this property to a new owner for a different restaurant concept. The new owner and its lender are requesting a formal easement from the city onto 1043 Concord Road in order to access and use the garbage collection unit and the grease trap in the same manner as the current owner has done since 2016. The proposed easement will run to any successors in interest to the property at 1061 Concord Road, only so long as that property is being used as a restaurant and so long as the owner keeps the garbage area and grease trap properly serviced and maintained. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion on this? This is in Ward 3. Mr. Lindley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion do pass as previously read and presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Wagner. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item 6, 2021-426, approval to hire Mr. Eric Randall as the city engineer. Mr. Bennett, any background?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You can come on up, Mr. Randall. With the departure of former city engineer Kevin Moore, the position of city engineer is vacant. A search was conducted and after receipt of one application and interviewing of that applicant, Mr. Eric Randall, previous City of Smyrna city engineer, was the sole applicant and interviewee. Myself submits to mayor and council the recommendation of Mr. Eric Randall as a city engineer.
Nothing like running unopposed. What do you think, Mr. Gould? Mr. Randall,
Sir.
You want to say anything?
I appreciate your consideration of my returning to Smyrna. It's always been a great place to work, and I look forward to coming back.
Everybody leaves, but they always come back.
Boomerang syndrome.
Anybody have anything they'd like to say to Mr. Randall?
I
Susan, you're the only one that was
I
here
was
last
gonna
time,
say.
other than me, when he was here.
Well, I was going to say I enjoyed working with Eric before, and I'm looking forward to his return. And I feel certain you'll be ready to hit the ground running because you already have a lot of history.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your words.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you.
Likewise.
Ms. Wilkinson, would you like to make the motion?
Sure, thanks.
Item
Okay,
E.
this time I want to move to approve.
6.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this time I want to move to approve item 6E 2021-426, the approval to hire Mr. Eric Randall as the city engineer.
Have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. Good luck, Mr. Randall. It's approved 5-0. Welcome back. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. I'll see y'all on Monday.
In a tie, right? All right. Item F, 2021-429, approval of fiscal year 2021 final budget amendment. Mr. Bennett, any background, please?
Already.
Yes, sir. Negative variances on the budget to actual for expenditures need to be eliminated for report presentation. In addition, the city needs to amend the budget for the reclassification on both CARES and ARPA funds received in fiscal year 2021. An annual audit of the city's financial statements is required at the conclusion of the fiscal year. In order to close out the year and finalize the financial statements, final adjustments to the budget need to be made to account for various transactions that were not originally budgeted. The city does not need to show negative budget variances for expenditure accounts. Some revenue line items were under budgeted, so they will be increased to offset the additional expenditure budget need to eliminate the negative variances.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Kristen, do you have any presentation? Is there any questions anybody has or any discussion? We went over this in our agenda meeting. All right, our budget chairman is traveling. I'm going to turn it over to our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Tim Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve item 6F 2021-429 as previously read.
I have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. It's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item G, 2021-428, approval of the fiscal year 2022 staff merit increases and an adjustment to the pay grades of 4%. Mr. Bennett, the background, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the annual budgeting process, an estimate for the annual merit increases effective January 1st was included. The merit amount was included in contingency pending council approval. Also, as part of the annual budget, funds were set aside to conduct a classification and compensation study. Over the last several months leading up to this study, staff has been looking at ways to recruit and retain employees pending the results of the study. The study with the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute of Government is currently in process. The last study was done in 2018 and included plan management recommendations for annual maintenance. Annual maintenance was supposed to be based on CPI or the Employment Cost Index. The maintenance to the plan was not done, which has placed the city in the position of being below the market. Based on the Employment Cost Index for state and local governments, there has been a cumulative increase of 6.8% since 2018. The city is experiencing difficulty hiring and retaining employees that can be tied to our pay grades and the lack of maintenance over the last several years. In an effort to recruit new employees and retain our current employees while we are conducting the compensation study, we are requesting that merit raises be given effective October 1st, 2021, and that we make an adjustment to the pay grades to increase them by 4%. We anticipate additional adjustments to the pay grades after the conclusion of the study. Merit raises at January 1st, 2022 were included in the contingency in the FY 2022 budget at $264,000. To give these raises at October 1st, 2021, including FICA, the amount would be approximately $422,000. There is an additional $172,000 in unallocated contingency that will assist in providing these raises. Staff is still finalizing these amounts and will bring a formal budget amendment to council at a subsequent meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. This item and the next item are critical in this, especially in this labor market, this tough labor market. While we're awaiting the results of the pay study, to go ahead and do this stopgap now and take care of our people and make our city's positions more attractive to potential applicants. So I appreciate all of the work that the finance team did to bring this forward. And in the absence of Mr. Welch, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really a critical thing for the city, and appreciate staff's hard work on this to do all we can to help support our staff. So with that, Mr. Mayor, move to approve item 6G 2021-428 as previously read.
I have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item H, 2021-427, authorization to pay incentive pay of $25 a day to any employee of Public Works serving as a driver or crew worker on sanitation and recycling trucks until the city considers those departments to be back to full staff and able to operate effectively. I'll just say before Mr. Bennett goes into the background, that we're at a critical stage with our residential sanitation, and this is an effort to try to fill some of those positions to make sure that we don't have to outsource this, that we continue to do it housed in the city and provide y'all with the service that you're used to and deserve. So anything you want to add for background, Mr. Bennett?
No, sir, I believe that sums it up. Just in summary, we have 5 sanitation trucks and 3 recycling trucks. Each truck has a driver and 2 crew workers. There's a total of 24 personnel on the trucks. These 24 people at $25 per day is $600 per day, or $3,000 per week.
And what does that make the hourly rate for something, Kristen? I know it's something, it makes it close to $20 an hour, which is above, hours actually work, which is above what the commercial sanitation folks are paying. So hopefully that'll be an incentive that'll get folks into those positions. Mr. Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see. You know, and the folks on the sanitation trucks, and you know, they all make our lives better, right? And they work awfully hard. So we need them, and we're happy to try to make this per diem, so to speak, as a tool to help keep those folks on staff and attract additional staff. So with that, Mr. Mayor, move to approve item 6H 2021-427 as previously read.
I have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you. Go put that out right now. Market that right now. Item 7, commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Mr. Bennett, can you please read the consent agenda for council approval?
Yes, sir. Item A, MIN 2021-61, approval of the August 16th, 2021 pre-council meeting minutes. Item B, MIN 2021-62, approval of the August 16th, 2021 mayor and council meeting minutes. Item C, 2021-393, approval of street closings for October 2nd, 2021 Hispanic Heritage Month celebration from 8 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. at all entry points to Village Green Circle Southeast, along with King Street, from Spring Street to Village Green Circle, and from Bank Street to Village Walk to King Street. Item D, 2021-407, authorize Atkins Park Tavern, Restaurant and Bar to operate a beer trailer station at the following approved events: Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, October 2nd, City Birthday celebration, October 9th, and Fall Jonquil Festival, October 23rd and 24th, 2021. Item E, 2021-409, retroactive approval of the closing of the Market Village upper area around the fountain, including blocking vehicle access from Atlanta Road for the purpose of a special event on Saturday, September 18th, 2021, titled College Football Saturday in Smyrna. And finally, item F, 2021-415, approval to use council chambers for Heritage at Vinings Homeowners Association meeting Tuesday, January 11th, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved by Mr. Lindley, seconded by Mr. Gould, I guess. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you. Item 9 is ward and committee reports. We'll start tonight with Dr. Lewis Wheaton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick things. Just want to give a few shout outs to some of the foundations, some of our school foundations that are operating with residents in the city, particularly the Campbell Middle School Foundation and the Nickajack Elementary School Foundations. They've really great opportunity to help support those schools. Those campaigns are very active and ongoing. I encourage you with all of the schools locally to support them if you can. Really good opportunities, and both of those foundations have been incredibly successful over the last several years. As well, looking forward to resuming our ward walks. We'll have our first one over in the Oak Hills subdivision, Saturday at 11 o'clock. And that'll be a good opportunity to talk to a few residents with some concerns that are going on within that particular neighborhood and get up to speed on a few other things as well. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Dr. Wheaton. Mr. Tim Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to highlight an event we had Saturday, which was the ribbon cutting for the new sign and entranceway to the Creekwood neighborhood. That really came about by the hard work from a few key residents, Sally Knox and Ramona Curtis, but also the help from staff and Public Works, particularly for redoing the islands and doing nice plantings, and then removing, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 old utility poles. And if you look at it now, you maybe didn't know what it looked like before, but it does look so much better. So it was really kind of based on the involvement of some really active residents who literally out there mowing the grass on a weekly basis to keep the neighborhood looking great. So appreciate their hard work. And then lastly, I just want to thank Councilman Lindley for inviting us to the Ward 3 City Council meeting tonight.
Ms. Wilkinson.
No report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like Mr. Gould to know that there are bathrooms on every floor of this building. So if you need one, see the city administrator. Just wanted to echo from the mayor's report. The final open house on the downtown redesign will be tomorrow the 21st here at the community center from 4 to 7. So I encourage anybody, if you can, to get out and look at that. You can also still participate online, but there's something to be said by coming and seeing what they've got over there. Thank you.
Mr. Wagner.
I'll just point out that there was one thing in Ward 2, and just reiterate my excitement for what I think will be the start of many great things for that part of Ward 2. With that, I yield.
Thank you. And Dr. Wheaton reminded me when he was talking about the school foundations. So I want to report that something y'all are familiar with from the pandemic and ever since is Support Smyrna. There were yard signs and all over the place, and y'all really stepped up in a big way to help out folks in need in the community. That is now under application for its own 501c3 status. There is a board that's been formed, and their first meeting is October 4th with, I'm proud to say, my wife Laura Norton will chair that group. And so I'm looking forward to great things ahead for Support Smyrna and not only partnerships with the schools, but other needs in the community. So looking forward to that. Any staff have any? Mr. Bennett? No? Ms. Penny? Jeffrey? Ms. Heather? Okay. Item 10 is show cause hearings. We have none. Item 11 is citizen input. We have one citizen signed up to speak. It's Ms. Sean Martin, 2884 Anderson Circle.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to, just going through the agenda, there are a few places where the items are noted for approval with authorization for the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. And that is something that I don't think that I've not seen that before. So I just wanted to recommend that whenever you need to place that on the agenda, that you add the words in accordance with Georgia Sunshine Law, HB 397. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'll say that's been on every agenda since anybody can remember, and as the executive of this city, I always sign in accordance with those laws. So with that, if there's no other business brought before this body, we're adjourned at 8:30. Thank you.